Let's play some hockey tonight.
Energetic, passionate, and savvy. Gouche Live. Brought to you by the good people at the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Gouche.
I am the Gouche, and I'm here at the bottom line, 22 Front Street, a slap shot away from the Hockey Hall of Fame. And we've got a great show today. Yes, we do. I have a very special guest who will be talking about the Hockey Hall of Fame induction coming up this November 2022. Can you believe it? It's already 2022. I still remember 2021 Hall of Fame was a little bit different, and we'll get a chance to talk with Kelly Masse all about the great things that are going to happen. But before we do that, obviously, it is Gouche Live. We're so excited. You can come down to the new studio, 22 Front Street. Come on and enjoy some chicken wings, maybe grab a pop, or, of course, the other type of pop, and enjoy yourself with this great people, Wayne Kelly and his crew. All right, here it is. We are going to talk about some of the greatest athletes of all time that have been inducted in the Hockey Hall of Fame. The only way I get into the Hockey Hall of Fame is if I buy a ticket. Well, not true.
Not true.
Peter Jagley sometimes let me in, or if I'm going to meet a guy named Darren Boyko. Ladies and gentlemen, here she is, Kelly Masse.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Well, that's fantastic. Obviously, we're here, the Gouche Live. It's the first time for you to be on my program. And the reason why I asked you to come on the program, I saw you do another one, and you were absolutely fantastic. And what it is that you're articulate. You allow us to understand in layman's terms about what's going to go on at the Hockey Hall of Fame. But before we do that, Hockey Hall of Fame. Did you play hockey?
You know what? I fell in love with hockey. My dad, I suffered bad earaches. What a way to start the show. I suffered bad earaches as a kid. And so my father, they were trying all sorts of things. And he would put me up on the couch because I couldn't sleep. And he said, I'm going to introduce you to hockey. And so I watched Bobby. I fell in love with Bobby. I fell in love with the game of hockey. And so my father tried to sign me up for hockey, and that coach in London, Ontario, if I could find you, he said to me, girls don't play hockey. That's number one. And number two, you have weak ankles, so you're never going to be able to play hockey. So I never did. But later in life, when I started working in the hall, I took a hockey camp at an older age.
Well, I found my coach that said I had weak ankles and girls don't play hockey, and he regretted that because obviously I got lucky and traveled around the world to play this great game. And you, of course, are in the, I would say, the iconic place for hockey. Of course, it's the Hockey Hall of Fame. So how did you decide to go into this? You're a marketer. I think you're the director of marketing, if I'm not mistaken.
Director of Corporate and Media Relations, Gouche.
Oh, my God.
Come on now.
I should have read the list here. Now, that's a pretty heavy title. And, of course, today, nothing runs without being corporately responsible. So how did you venture into the Hockey Hall of Fame? Did you just say, hey, I'm going to apply? Did you get headhunted, or
no one's ever asked me that. It's a funny story, actually. It is the best of hockey, and I remember watching it on TV when they moved to the new building here at Yonge and Front Street. I was working in another building, another office, and I was said to myself, that'd be a great place to work, probably a fabulous place. At the same time, I was running New Year's Eve parties with a friend of mine. And the president, or not the now president, but then Jeff Denemy, he was the vice president of finance back then. He came to the New Year's Eve party, and they were looking for a person to sell tickets to the induction in 1995. And they hired me for 3 months, and then they hired me full time the next year. So,
Kelly, we have history. I don't know if you know it. Back in Winnipeg, of course, our good friend Darren Boyko, I owned a nightclub called Fridays, and I would host some of the greatest New Year's Eve bashes of all times. What a great opportunity to enjoy, having other people enjoy.
Yes.
And it gives you that personality, that bubbly personality that you got.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we should run a New Year's Eve party.
At the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Come on, let's do it.
Here we do it.
Let's go.
Okay. Obviously, you can see the director, corporate and media relationships coming out of Kelly Masse right at this time. It's called the Hockey Hall of Fame and Museum. And there's a reason why. Because a lot of people think it's just an NHL thing, right? The people that I've spoke to in Germany when I've traveled there kind of thought, oh my God, it's just for the NHL, but it's not. It's international, it's women, it's everything now. And it is a museum. Walk us through what the Hockey Hall of Fame and Museum is all about.
Well, what we're all about is the world's greatest collection of hockey memorabilia and artifacts. We celebrate the best of the best game, the best of hockey. We're 65,000 square feet museum. And that's what most people think when they come into the museum the first time. They can't believe how big it is. And it is. And it's, we can't even house all of our collection here at the Hall of Fame. We have a resource center near the practice facility for the Leafs, and we house a lot of the artifacts there. But it showcases the best of hockey. And you're right, not just the NHL. It's minor leagues, it's ed leagues, it's sledge hockey, it's women's hockey. And so we celebrate the best of hockey on all levels around the world.
And you know what? I'm actually in it.
What?
Yep.
What?
I'm on the what's called the Allen Cup.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so we've actually inscribed our name in the actual cup itself.
Yeah, that's in a nice trophy display.
Yeah, and well, I was also in it because I got married there, which is unbelievable. So I really enjoyed it.
We do have after hours facility rentals, a lot of weddings, a lot of birthday parties, a lot of corporate events after hours at the Hall.
Yep, and it's a fantastic place. So make sure you check it out. Come on down first to the bottom line, 22 Front Street. We'll be the happy hosts of you here, obviously, and we'll make sure you get over to the Hockey Hall of Fame. One of the things that intrigues me about the Hockey Hall of Fame is the fact that it's a family event. It's not just, the old crusty veteran like me who wants to go in and look at the history of hockey. It's everybody. It's engaging. It's educational. It's very entertaining. You've got so many facets of the hall. Talk to us about the people that come in for the first time and they walk in to the great hall and they see this massive, it's got the stained glass windows and it's got the old vault where they keep the true Stanley Cup. What are the impressions of people when they come there for the first time?
Yeah, it's for the passionate fan, not just for the passionate fan, but for early fans or new fans or not even fans. I find people that come to the hall, you learn a lot about hockey. You learn a lot about the history of hockey, and it's set in a beautiful building. It's a historic building, and the Great Hall is spectacular.
It's heritage, isn't it?
Yeah, it's heritage. Yeah, you can't replicate that Great Hall. It's beautiful, and it's I'll never forget. I just started working at the hall, and I was downstairs in the Great Hall doing something, and a gentleman came up and he saw the Stanley Cup for the first time in person, and tears. And that's I find like a lot of people are just sort of amazed and passionate and emotional.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that obviously you fell in love with Bobby Orr. So I got to ask this question: are you a Boston Bruin fan, or can you say it on this program that you're a fan of one particular team, or is it you just love hockey?
Yeah, I love good hockey. I'm a playoff hockey fan.
Yeah,
I think it's the best. Chunky. It is. It's the best playoff athletic game ever, I think, playoff hockey. But I loved Bobby Orr, so I loved Boston. Then they were losing, so then I turned to Montreal, and then they were losing.
This is why she has weak ankles, right? Jumping from one bandwagon to the other. Obviously, you tore a couple ligaments. But is there anybody now special?
Well, it's hard not to be a Toronto Maple Leaf fan living in Toronto, but I like the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Well, listen, we were talking to Kelly Masse, Director of Corporate and Media Relations at the Hockey Hall of Fame and Museum. Got a couple of comments, one being Jordan's father, who's in Thailand. This program goes around the world. We've got our good friend Matthew Meisner piping in too. He wants to know about the Buffalo Sabres. He's just crazy about Buffalo Sabres, believe it or not. A comment's coming. Always cool to see the Hong Kong jersey in the hall. Always seems to have one on display. Jordan played hockey in Hong Kong. And that's not coming from him. It's coming from one of his friends. But it's amazing that it is an international game now. And that international section, every time I come to the hall, that's the first place I go because I just love to see some of the people. One of my line mates, Mark McPiquet, who ended up being the captain of the German team, national team, he's had his skates in there. He's had his jersey in there. I'm not sure he had his jockstrap in there, but he's had almost every part of, and that's what's cool about the hall. You've got everything and anything for anybody that wants to see a of our history.
That's right. When you go into that great area, the World of Hockey area, international zone, we have a great partnership with the International Ice Hockey Federation, and you'll see just from the artifacts and the jerseys, every country that has a national team, we have a jersey from, and you'd be amazed.
Mongolia,
Thailand, Japan, like you'd be amazed at how many countries have a national team.
Kenya,
and so you realize then and there that. Hockey is no longer just Canada, U.S., and Finland or Sweden. It's a global sport. played globally.
And a lot of people, as I mentioned earlier in the program, a lot of people think it's just about all the stars and everybody. No, it's a family attraction. Allows us to celebrate the game at all levels, and that's what makes it so special.
It is a family track. We have great interactive areas for shooting and
I've
being
never
a goalie.
seen one puck.
I have a great story about Sidney Crosby about shooting when we opened up.
Right.
You want to hear? I don't know.
Of course we do.
Okay, well, we just opened up the international zone. We asked the junior team to come, and Sidney Crosby was part of that junior team. And he, because of all the cameras that were taking pictures of him shooting, it kind of upset our sensor.
Yeah.
So he wasn't scoring. That wasn't counting the goals. So he actually said to me, "Can you open up the other lane so I can practice?" So he had a whole team come and practice, and it was just, you saw that how passionate he is about hockey, and competitive, and he wanted to score those goals. It's not easy. It's not easy to score those goals on the pro level.
I went up against Patrick Waugh, for God's sakes, and nothing, zero.
Well,
he shut the door.
That doesn't seem right.
Like, I know, so I got to maybe talk to somebody who's taking care of that. All right, just before we get into the actual induction, I've got a couple more questions. You work with a great group of people, of course. The Phil Pritchard, one of the greatest commercials ever for the Hockey Hall of Fame is.
I can't decide.
Okay, I'll tell you this one. When he's sitting on the toilet with his white gloves reading the newspaper.
Yeah.
And it's Phil Pritchard. I had an opportunity. I don't know if you knew that, but many years ago, back in 2001, I did a charity game in Germany, in Hanover, Germany. It was for the World Hockey Championships. And I had rented a big, huge tent, and Phil had brought over all the trophies except the Stanley Cup, and we had a Gretzky display, and I got a chance to spend some time with Phil for probably close to 3 or 4 days, and we would go back to the hotel, and Gretzky it was unbelievable, just an absolute unbelievable event. And that's when I truly got to know Phil. We went to a Chinese restaurant, and I still remember this to the day, how nice of a guy he is, and certainly that commercial just depicts his ability to perform.
Yeah, he is. He's one of the many greats that we have with hockey. You mentioned Darren Boyko.
Yes.
We have a lot of great people. And,
yes, he is better than me. Yes, he is.
But we do have a great outreach program, like you mentioned, like the traveling exhibits, traveling artifacts, trophies. That's part of our mandate too.
Michael Bolt, I've met, obviously Kevin Shea.
Yeah. The Cookers of the Cup. Those are great jobs too. That looks like a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work.
How many white gloves do you think Phil Pritchard has in the drawer that he told me? He's got a special drawer where he takes the gloves off. Is that true, or is he just?
No, he does. Like we have and then we have special ones made with their Hall of Fame logo on them, which is really unique and kind of cool. And people love those white gloves.
All right. Is there anything that we've missed on the hall itself?
I don't think so. I mean, we're open now. It's great to be reopened, and we see people from all over the world come. All over the world, people come to see the Hockey Hall of Fame. We're a premier tourist attraction.
No question. And I'm still thinking about us doing the Hall of Fame New Year's Eve party. Has it ever been done?
No, not right. Not by us.
We're pulling it off. Okay, let's get into the Hockey Hall of Fame induction. You can go to www.hhof.com. I know my producer will be putting that up. Jordan, always doing a great job, so that you can go and check this out. And we're going to talk about the actual Hockey Hall of Fame induction that's happening November this year at 2022, of course. And Kelly puts it all together with a great team of people.
Great team.
You are the media relations. You get us to understand what, and I've been to probably the last 12. I've been blessed to be able to go downstairs and work with a great crew to take care of the actual Hockey Hall of Fame induction game, which is just truly amazing. If you're a hockey fan, you have to check this out. And even if you aren't, you got to come out because it's a first-class event. Talk to us about first the process. Obviously, every July, I think it is, there are players that are listed, and there's a group of people that come in and say, okay, we vote, and these people are inducted in the Hall of Fame. Can you give us just a little bit of how that all operates?
Sure. It's our selection committee. It's an 18-person selection committee that meet every year, but it's not just even leading up to the vote. They have a lot to do. Public can submit public recommendations, which we then pass on.
So I could put my own name in there?
Yeah, it's got to be bona fide.
Okay. Is that a tongue? All right.
And so then the selection committee each get a chance to nominate either. They don't have to, but they can nominate one player, one builder, and one referee linesman if they want.
Okay.
They don't have to, they can. And then so once they nominate once all the nominations come in,
So just from that 18 group.
just from that 18
Okay,
group,
good.
to be officially nominated, it has to come from a
All right.
selection committee member. And then they meet in the end of June, and we have a list of everyone that's been nominated, and that selection committee member has to sort of stand up and defend their nomination and say why they think that person belongs in the Hall of
Wow,
Fame.
okay.
And so then it gets down to how many you have to get 14 votes of 18
Yeah.
to be selected. It's not easy because a lot of those guys girls have submitted a name that they want, they prefer to get in. So you really have to kind of have to defend it. So
Well, it just comes to mind. There's a couple of people that have been elected into the Hockey Hall of Fame. I'll just say Gretzky for one.
yeah.
There was no debate.
Well,
Like,
no, he was actually. We had he didn't have to wait the 3-year waiting period.
Right.
It was
Right.
automatic.
So explain that. So
Yeah.
as a player, you're still a very good hockey player, but as a regular player, there's a waiting process.
Yeah, it's a
right?
3-year waiting period. You can't have played in those 3 playing seasons in Europe or in Canada or in the United States. You can't have played.
All
So you
right.
have to be. Builders can still be active,
Right.
and there are a lot of builders that are active. But he was the last person that we waived the 3-year waiting period for. So it's kind of fitting.
Really?
He was the 10th and last person.
I don't think there'd be a lot of debate.
No,
on
I
that
can't
one.
imagine.
All right, so now the process is there. We've selected the person, I apologize,
The class.
the class.
Yeah.
And then what happens? What do you kick in and say,
Yeah.
all right, we got to start putting the logistics together?
Yeah, for the day itself that we announce, the committee votes, and then we get the names, and then I have to try to get the numbers of the people that are going to be elected, like have been elected, and then we try to get them, tell them before the live
Now,
announcement.
is that you?
Yeah, well, I get the numbers, but I get the numbers, and then we have our chairman, Laney
So
McDonald.
you don't call them and say, hey, listen,
No, hey, hi, it's Kelly.
click.
Yeah, click. No, it's our chairman, Laney McDonald, and the chairman of the Mike Gartner that
Okay.
make those phone calls. And I
Okay.
have to tell you, this year's phone call, when we announced it to Bernice Carnegie about her husband,
Oh
her
my
late
gosh.
husband, there wasn't literally a dry eye in that room. Mike
No.
Gartner, Lanny, myself, Jeff Denny, we were all in tears because she was so grateful for this.
Emotionally.
Yeah, emotional that this has happened. So then we announce it live at 3 p.m. and then we do a media conference call later that day, and we give them a week to let their phones rest, settle down.
Yeah.
And then now we're in the process of getting them planning the details because they really don't know. Some of them may have come, or some of them may have seen the induction ceremony, but you don't really know about the weekend until you're in the midst of
Oh, I
it.
know.
And
It's-
it's bigger than just the night. It's a huge weekend.
Well, listen, we're talking with Kelly Masse, of course, Director of Corporate and Media Relations at the Hall. What a great job to be able to give this information. I met Bernice. She was here, actually.
Oh.
She was interviewed, but I had a chance to speak to Rain Carnegie
Oh, great.
probably a year before the selection, and he was really wanting to trumpet this movement.
Yeah.
And when he came here, the emotion that was between the two of them was just absolutely incredible, and a very worthy choice. Okay, so now you've made the call, Lanny and Mike, two of arguably the nicest people on the planet.
Really
make
are,
the
yeah.
call. Everybody's excited. You give them a week, and then now you kick in. Now you've
Yeah.
got to, we got to start planning tickets and
Yeah.
all that stuff. What happens? What do you need to do with
Well, I have to sort of give them a rundown of the weekend. They're all very interested in tickets, how many tickets they get to each event. I remember Al Arbor telling me it was like planning a wedding, and it is on their end. It's like there's so many
Who do I
events.
invite?
Who do I invite? How many? They have their private parties just to help with the tickets that they can't get to the induction,
Oh,
and
that's
so
a good point.
yeah, and so they are planning it as well, and they don't really know anything that's happening, but we do,
Yeah.
and so we give them the whole rundown of the weekend, and then we start planning from there.
Now, is there? I know you've had such a cast and crew. You mentioned Bernice, obviously the emotions that came from her. Is there anybody that you said they were just over the top and you had to calm down? We're going to get this all dealt with.
Oh gosh, so
I know there's
from,
many.
yeah, from the phone call.
Yeah.
I think Matt Sundin swore
Of course he did.
when we announced it to him. The funniest one, though, was I think one of the funniest ones was Sergei Fedorov, because he was over in Russia or in Sweden or someplace, and he got the phone call. So it was quite late at night, and he didn't know the phone call that the boat was happening that day. So we had Laney call, and he was in the middle of a party. I answered the phone, and he was like, "Oh yeah, great, I'm being inducted," and hung up on us. Thought it was one of his friends, and we had to keep calling back. At Belfort, we had to wake up. We had to get his neighbor to wake him up because he was doing a pregame nap for his hockey league. There's been so many. I remember Angela James. She was the first woman.
Beautiful girl.
Yeah,
Beautiful woman.
She was the first woman that we called, first woman inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame, and she was like, you could tell she was stumped. And Jim Gregory couldn't even get it out of his mouth to explain to her. He was so emotional about it too. So was I. That was a great moment.
She's wonderful. We had her booked to come down to Philadelphia this year.
Oh, yeah.
Everything was ready. We do a big event with Johnson & Johnson, and one of her children got COVID a couple of days, and she was literally broken.
Yeah.
Obviously, that the child had got COVID, but that she couldn't get on that flight. She's such a great ambassador.
She really
not
is.
only to the game, but to everything that she represents. All right, so now, have you had trouble getting a hold of somebody? Let's say somebody's on a vacation and they turn their phone off for a couple of weeks, or do these people know that it's coming?
I think most of them now know that when the vote meeting is, and when we would get a phone call, when they would get a phone call. I think in this year's class, it was, I think it was Roberto Luongo said that he had heard that the vote was today, but that if he didn't get the call by 2:00 or something, then he wasn't going to get the phone call, but we were running late, and we did call him, and he mentioned, I didn't think I was going to get the phone call today. But one of the most interesting was Mark Messier. He, I just couldn't get a hold of him. I just could not get a hold of him. So I Googled his name, and I saw that he had a hotel in the Bahamas. And so I called the hotel, and I said, I'm looking for Mark. Yes, I called.
And he was there.
No, and they said, he's on a boat. He's fishing. And I said, is there any way I can get a hold of him? And so I got a hold of his sister, who got a hold of him.
Right.
And then he explains how he was flying back on a boat and went to the marina to take the phone call and to do the media conference call.
And it never gets old for these guys, obviously, men and women that are honored with this Hockey Hall of Fame.
I think it's probably like a last milestone in a player's career to be recognized as a player, for sure, in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
So now let's get into the specifics. You've got everybody knows what's going on. You're now booking time for them to come in, and then there's a whole weekend. So walk us through, if you don't mind, recapping what it's like to be an inductee coming into Toronto, and now the weekend hits you.
Okay, well, they would probably arrive, depending where they're coming from, Thursday or Friday of the weekend. Friday, first event is a non-public event. It's a press conference. This is a time for the media, the only time really for the media to get the whole entire class together. Right. Players, builders, referee linesmen, if there's one of those. And this is where they also receive their Hall of Fame ring. So it's a nice moment. Some family members come to that because they want to see their family member get the Hall of Fame ring, presented by Lanny and Mike Gartner. And then it's a media availability, and so it's a press conference. Then we have the Hall of Fame game on Friday night. This year it's Leafs versus Pittsburgh Penguins. Okay. And it's a favorite event. I heard from the Leafs it's a favorite event of theirs or for their fans because the Hall of Famers that are in town that weekend go to the game. The inductees are introduced on ice, pre-game ceremony. They walk the red carpet. It's a nice way for the Hall of Famers there to sort of welcome them into the Hall of Fame club. And then they drop the puck, and then they go to their suites and they enjoy the game as much as they can with their family. It's a fun night for the Hall of Fame staff too.
So that's Friday night. Then Saturday shows up.
Yeah, Saturday. Then Saturday has one of my favorite events. It's the Fan Forum.
I've never been to it. I'm coming this year.
You have to come to it. This year. You cannot believe the questions are amazing because it's from people who want to come to this. It's only limited to I think 180, 200.
Get my ticket.
You got to get your ticket. Maybe you know someone there.
I'm going to pull some strings.
And the players, it's just the players that go to this, but they take questions from the guests of the hall. And you can't believe the questions. I remember Paul Correa. this woman, like a woman stood up and said she had just been diagnosed with cancer. And that day she had written to Paul weeks ago, and she got a letter back from him and has signed something saying, keep fighting.
God.
And she said it changed it for her.
Oh my God, what a beautiful story.
A beautiful, and then I can't even tell you the great questions because they're so emotional, because they do come from the fans. One guy didn't even want to ask a question, just said to Mary Lemieux, thank you for everything you've done. Can I shake your hand?
How beautiful is that?
I know, it's wonderful.
And that's
that's on Saturday afternoon at the Hall of Fame.
And that's what's great about the inclusion, the engagement that you allow these people to, because we idolize our hockey players, and you get an opportunity to be one-on-one. Hey, you're here at the bottom line, of course. I'm with Kelly Masse. We're just going through the rigors of the Hockey Hall of Fame weekend. We've got to Saturday afternoon. That's fantastic. But this year is a little extra special, if I'm not mistaken. If I read it right, there's a second NHL game. Am I right?
Yes, there is.
And
yes.
it is the Toronto Maple Leafs against the Vancouver Canucks.
Right.
And it just so happens 3 players are being inducted from the Canucks. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you can correct me if I'm wrong if you've seen it. Luongo's going in as a Panther, I think I saw.
Well, actually, they don't go in the Hockey Hall of Fame. They don't go in.
It like baseball? I saw his jersey.
Yeah. Oh, probably on the creative.
Okay.
Yeah, but what's unique about the Hall of Fame, and I can tell you that Ray Bork was thrilled about this rule, was that they don't go in under a certain team. They go in as a collaboration, as all of their work. Yeah.
Makes sense.
So they don't have to pick who they want to go in
Because
on.
that could be bad.
Yeah. So they just go in.
Some of those fans.
They go, as a collection of their.
Those questions would be a little bit X-rated on the Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay, so the game is just a game, and
it's not really have anything to do with the Hall of Fame game. So, but it never happened before. We had another second game.
So you're going to be here then with us because we're doing a party.
Are you?
Yeah,
here?
just letting you know, the Hockey Hall of Fame, obviously, it's a great weekend. All the people here. It's the 45th anniversary of Slapshot. And we were going to do a golf tournament. We're doing one in Winnipeg. It's all sold out. Hopefully Darren's coming. And we're going to do an event. And we had the Slapshot crew over one year in the foyer, and it was absolutely ridiculous. We haven't planned it all, but we're having a party here that night. We're going to watch the game here, and we'll have a bunch of the Slapshot crew, and we hope you join us.
Well, we're actually having a private party at the Hall of Fame.
I'll probably be invited to that.
You'll probably you have to decide which one you want to go to.
I'll be there for sure. All right, let's talk a little bit about then the Sunday, which is a truly amazing event. It's the Legends Classic. I've been involved with probably 7 of them down in the dressing room, getting to meet a lot of these guys, and being a hockey player, it's kind of cool because I don't ooze and awe over it. Just, hey, they're a hockey player, and it's a lot of fun just to get to know their personalities. And Rod Gilbert walked in. He's no longer with us, of course, but he walked in with a fedora in this incredible suit. He looked like he's about this tall. He looked like mafiosa. He walks in, and everybody was dead silent. And then he cracked a joke. The place was crazy. Those are the things that. And Lanny McDonald, I won't even repeat his pregame
I've
speech.
heard. I've never been in the dressing room. I've heard about his.
You got to come. It's
like-
unbelievable. There's nothing better than Lanny McDonald firing the boys up, boys and girls, to go out there. So walk us through. It's going to be team
Lindros
versus
team Sundin.
Okay.
So it's a great matchup. It's nice to have Matt's come back, and Eric is always back. He's been a great supporter of the Hall of Fame. And so before the game, we have a little event at the Hall of Fame, signed posters and pictures with the captains.
That's right.
And then the Legends Classic. And I have to tell you, it's really grown into be a great game. I know that some players have now reached out to us saying, can I get in that game? How can I get in that game?
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to say no because it is so filled up. I know Rain Carnegie.
Yeah.
He wanted to play. And so he's going to play. He was a junior
Oh,
player.
fantastic. He's a good hockey player.
Yeah, really good hockey player. And so we asked the inductees to play in that game.
Yeah.
So this is before the game. So if anyone who buys tickets and goes to gets to go to this game, which is a great game, try to get there right at the top of the game, start of the game, because the inductees receive their Hall of Fame blazer at the beginning of the game. Yeah, and it's it's a nice way to bring the public into the induction weekend a little bit. They get to see the presentation of the blazer.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, we used to do it at the press conference, but we changed it just thinking that more people would like to see that.
It's an amazing moment, of course, and we can celebrate with the inductees. Pascal Podlich, hello from Germany. Thank you for always joining us and talking hockey. Okay, so now the game goes on. You can get tickets at the Hockey Hall of Fame website, which I know Jordan will pop up here. The festivities are done basically for the average fan. They can come and watch the game, but then it's arguably, for anybody that's involved in hockey, arguably one of the best nights of the year. Mark it down. It's on Monday. It's the actual induction evening, and it's changed a little bit. I've been to many of them, and I was at last year's, which had to be a little bit different. The format I really enjoyed, and you're going to tell us what goes on that day, because there is a little bit of a difference again.
It is, yeah. It's a huge day, probably our biggest day, and it is a great event on hockey. I hear it's a great networking event, and it's a great event to see alumni and hockey players. They all come, and it's to celebrate these people's class history and their careers. So it starts off, the inductees have a rehearsal early.
Yeah.
They never really like that, but it starts early just so they can see the stage for the first
they're
time.
coming back from their parties.
And they also, heavy on their mind is their speech. I know that's all it's heavy. Like Joey Mullen, I don't think ate the entire weekend. He was so nervous about his speech.
Not everybody can do it.
No, but he did a great job.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then we have a NHL media luncheon, awards luncheon. Inductees don't go to that, but that's part of the Monday. And then the doors open at 5:30. And
where are we doing it this year?
We're doing it at Meridian Hall,
which was absolutely fantastic.
You liked it last year.
I really I've enjoyed all of them, so I can't say one's better or the other, but it was a very entertaining evening.
Yeah, for your viewers who don't know, we usually have it at the Hockey Hall of Fame, upstairs and downstairs.
Try the shrimp.
Yeah,
the shrimp bar. I live there.
That's where you are. And so, because last year in 2020 the induction was canceled during the pandemic, but we did have a vote in June of 2020, so we knew the class, but we couldn't. We got locked down. And so instead of in 2021, we did not have a voting meeting. We decided to have the class of 2020 stand alone and inducted in 2021. Yeah. So that's where we had it last year, just because we needed a larger space for social distancing. And so this year we want to try it again there at Meridian Hall, because it's a good facility and it's a huge theater. So everyone can watch the induction live.
That's right.
Which is different than when we have it at the hall. So everyone can be in the theater, and we're going to be able to have more people, we hope, this year, not have to social distance this year. So we're looking forward to it.
I remember walking in. I think, Jordan, you came with me, did you not?
This year.
To the Hockey Hall of Fame. We in the red carpet. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
Walking up there, thinking I was kind of a celebrity in that. And then, ticket, please. What do you mean ticket? What do you know who I am? It was a lot of fun, and it was really cool in the foyer and being able to catch up with them in the hall. It's so difficult, and I love it. Don't get me wrong, but there's all these different sections, and I'm by the shrimp bar, which is at the back, so you don't meet many people.
Yeah.
It was very well done. Very top of mind.
Yeah, it was a good class. It was a great
very
class.
Good class, and a very good class this year.
Yeah, great class.
So let's, as we wrap this up, of course, what's your next couple of months? Obviously, preparing for this, and is there any surprises that come out? Is there something that happens? Oh God, I gotta change gears, or is it pretty much now set in stone? We know exactly, the lane that you're in.
Yeah, it's the private event on Saturday night is it's an add-on. It's we're releasing, it's going to be the world premiere of our new video series, 10-part series on TSN. It's going to be that's probably what my job was during the pandemic. During lockdown, I had to contact every inductee that was inducted from 2000 to 2020.
Oh, great is that?
Yeah, it's great. It's always great to be able to have a reason to contact them and keep a relationship going. And so I think we have almost 70 of the inductees, almost all of them have been interviewed. And so we're going to release this series. And so we had them in late 1990s. Gretzky was the last one.
I remember that.
Yeah. And so this will be great. And so that's what we're going to do on Saturday. That's the only difference. But of course, with every new class, every person is different. Every inductee is different personality. Every inductee has different requests and wants and needs. So it's although the structure is the same, there's always a difference. But your viewers or anyone can go to hhf.com and look at our induction weekend. Tickets are available from Monday night. Some tickets are still available for Legends Classic. Of course, we're months away, so we still have tickets. So they can order those.
So listen,
on the
my
line.
only ask to you is that when you're
Uh-huh.
too busy and you can't get a hold of all those Hockey Hall of Famers, if you need me just to call some of them and get them ready, I'm throwing that offer out. Love to be able to
What
help
would you say
out.
to get them ready?
I just, hey,
Hey,
it's the Gooch. Come on down. Hey, maybe we can get a couple on the program. Listen, I can't thank you enough for you taking some time out of your busy schedule, because I know it's the summer and everybody thinks the Hockey Hall of Fame. Nobody, it's very busy over there.
yeah, it's our peak season right now, and I'm happy to tell you that we're getting people in. So it's starting to feel like it's starting to go back to normal, I hope.
Well, Kelly Masse, thank you for allowing us to understand what goes on one of the greatest weekends. Being a hockey guy, it's one of the greatest weekends of the year. And certainly now we know how to get tickets, going to hhof.com. And of course, Kelly Masse, the Director of Corporate and Media Relations at the Hockey Hall of Fame and Museum. Thank you for joining us here at Gouche Live. Do not forget, 2022 induction happens now. Get your tickets.
November
We're down
11th
here
to 14th.
November the 11th to 14th. Thank you.
Yeah.
See, that's why she's the Director of Media Relations. Listen, don't forget, come on down to the bottom line anytime, 22 Front Street. Gouche Live has its studio here. It's called The Locker Room, and we want you here. Wayne wants you here. Make sure you check it out.
You've been listening to Gouche Live with your host, Kerry Goulet, better known as The Gooch, brought to you by the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated.